Brother Harold, as you were speaking or testifying of God's goodness, I've always found it interesting that sometimes, not always, because all is different, that our loved ones can be up, around, about, laughing, joking, having conversations, and you turn your back or not, and God got them. I experienced that with my nephew, Kirk. Walked out the room, we're laughing and talking and joking, we're laughing them down here and there and everywhere, and gone. But it appears that, I say, the darkness is just before day, but God seems he knows better than we do. We don't know the time, nor the day, nor the hour, or the second, or the minute. But through it all, we continue to do the best we try. And what we need to do is to love them while we got them. Hold them close and dear. And let God do the rest. I want to, just for a little while, talk about the Exodus. I thought it was quite interesting when the Spirit told me to go to Exodus. Because we need to know that God knows his people. Even when we are hard-headed, disobedient, rebellious, what does he do? The same thing he did for the Israelites. Yes, he does. He is a cloud by day and fire by night. And he just keeps on telling us to move forward. Move forward. I got this. When I was told about the business, I just thank God that no one was hurt. We have to, as I believe I heard Brother Clifford saying, prayer, pray, 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 pray. I've been saying that for a long time. But you know, when the Israelites were about to leave Egypt, because they had been crying out to God to take them out of slavery. But isn't it amazing? He takes us out, and we go right back in. God didn't bring them out the short way, because he knew if he had brought them the short way, they may get into a fight with the Philistines. So he took them all the way around to the Red Sea. You know why? God had a plan. God had a plan. And our plan is definitely not God's. And for some reason or other, even when God allows his people, or those over his people sometime, to allow them, as he did with the king, to leave, then he turns around and hardens his heart. And he says, the king says, why did we let them go? Now what do? We no longer have slaves to wait on us and take care of us and make bricks out of straw But God had a plan. He always has a plan. I remember a long time ago, one of the ministers spoke about the puzzle and all the pieces that come in a puzzle. And you have to figure out where the pieces to the puzzle go. But you don't always get that right either. Because sometimes you're trying to make things fit that don't fit. And you got to turn them this way and that way. And they're not at that port, they're at this port or down at the bottom or on the sides. But God has a plan. And when God's plan works, all the pieces fall in place. In our lives, there are many situations. And we're still trying to make pieces work that don't work. We're trying to make things fit that don't fit. And so God says, wait, I got a plan. Now you're going to have to go through something. You're going to have to go through some things. But hold on. I know what the end of the puzzle looks like. Oh, my God. God led them all around through the desert. And then when the king realized what he had told them they could do, and they were gone, he prepared all his men of war with their chariots. See, there were two people to a chariot. One had to drive it, and one had to fight. Not as it is now. Everybody's either fighting or running or driving or whatever they do. But the minute the Israelites got to the Red Sea, and all that God had brought them through, they were still complaining. Still complaining. Why did you bring us out of Egypt? We could have died there. But God had a plan. So when they started complaining, and Moses said to God, they're about to stone me. What should I do? He said, use what you've got in your hand, and I will open it up that you can walk through on dry land. Through it all, they're still complaining. But God rose up the water on both sides, and a lot of breeze come through and dried the land that they could walk through. And they all went through the water. You know, water does a lot of things. It cleanses. It's very powerful, as we know. You can be standing tall, and he'll bring you down. The trees were falling everywhere. But so grateful that no one was injured. We have to stand and let God give us the strength to stand anyhow. When the pillar of fire that God had in front of the Israelites, do we realize that was God? That was God in a physical form. Fire, clouds, power. And he led them through all that he wanted them to go through for the moment, because there's always more to come. Always more to come. The Lord went before them by day as cloud, to lead them by night as a pillar of fire. So they never had to stop moving. But it took them 40 years because of disobedience and hard-headedness and rebelliousness and what all that other stuff that they did. Could never be satisfied. We don't have water. We don't have food. We don't have this. We don't have that. But God had a plan. I am so glad that God has a plan. So, you know, sometimes in this life, he still takes us all the way around, back again, up that way, over that way, because we won't obey. We will not. But we have to remember that God's way is not our way. Thank goodness for that. But now that the men of war are on the trail of the Israelites, here they come. Now, to me, if I saw water standing up on both sides of the sea, I'm not going in there. But the devil never gives up. The enemy doesn't stop agitating and aggravating. He doesn't. And they just kept right on running after God's people. Now they thought to themselves, because the word says so, God is fighting for them. He's not fighting for us. So why are you still chasing them? But now you can't turn back, because you're out of the will of God. And when they chased them into the water, what did God do? Because now they're on the other side. They're on the other side of the sea. And we're still running. Still running. But God had a plan. And since the Israelites were still disobedient, rebellious and hard-headed, he let them get to the other side. Just barely got to the other side when he told Moses to move his hand and let the water recede back down. In this thing called life, there's always going to be good, and there's going to be bad, and there's going to be ugly. But God is still in front of us, behind us, all around us, leading and guiding and directing us. And if we wouldn't complain so much, he may be in us. But sometimes we want to do it our way. I think that was a song. I did it my way. Well, your way and my way is not the right way. It's God's way. And God alone. So as things begin to occur in our lives, when the sick and the afflicted, our sisters, our brothers, and our mothers, and our fathers began and our friends and our loved ones began to have situations where it says, be still and know that I am God. Because you do not have the answer. We do not have the mind of Christ. But God sees, and he knows, and he understands. And he will handle whatever the situation is. What I love about God is he already knows the end. He already knows. He knows who will, he knows who won't. He knows what you're going to go through and if you can stand the test. What a world we live in today. But what a mighty God we serve. If it wasn't for God on our side, Lord, where would we be? But because he is in front of us, on the side of us, leading and guiding and directing us, if we let him. Everybody's not letting God lead and guide and direct them because they still want to do it their way. I want to do it God's way, whatever that is. But sometimes we just need to be still and seek God's face and let him do what he will do. You do your part, let him do his. I'm grateful today. I really am. I thank God for my church family. I'm grateful for my siblings. But it's time. And it's hard. May God bless and keep you all. Be encouraged in the Lord. He's a light in the darkest hour. A light in the darkest hour. And he will uphold his people with his right hand.